Good. We're rocking. So,
Perfect.
how are you doing?
Good, good. I've had a couple weeks off and then just did a debut of Don Jose in Moldova yesterday, and that was it was fun. I think it's actually going to be on TV there, so it was. I didn't know that at the time, thank God. So I
Oh,
probably wouldn't have done it
oh,
otherwise.
wow. So, I have to confess to being a bit of a fan of yours. I came late. I've come late to the table.
Uh-huh.
I've obviously known about you. I've seen you in the background. I'm not. I write for Opera Wire. I don't call myself a critic at all. I think I know
I
enough
see.
about. I think I know enough about opera and what it takes to put one together, what it takes to
Yeah,
perform one. I sing myself in the bath mainly. So
me too.
I know how hard uh, it is to put things together. So I never really criticize. I'm not really a critic. Uh, and I caught something comparatively recently by you.
Mm,
It was a recording of Bohème, and it blew me away. I just thought this was absolutely amazing.
well,
Uh,
thank you.
and so I thought, I'm going to have to speak to this guy. I'm going to have to speak to this guy. So I'm just going to look at my stupid questions. We're just going to go off on different tangents. If I touch on
Cool.
anything you think, oh, I don't really want to go down that road, just say to me, oh, shut up. We're not going to talk about that. Okay.
I'll wag the finger.
Yeah, wag the finger. That's brilliant. So look, everywhere I read about you, you're described as a great American tenor, a Chilean tenor, and sometimes a Chilean American tenor. Wha- Obviously, I know you was born in Chile. Which do you prefer? How do you see yourself?
I guess I see myself as Chilean American, but it is a difficult thing to like say because I'm adopted. So it's
Yeah,
like the Chilean part of me is like I think it's like the passion and like this drive for music, and the American part of me is kind of if you knew me as a guy, that's who I am.
yeah.
So it's like the Chileans on the inside and the Americans on the outside.
I know you was adopted from an early age. Do you have family in Chile that you go and see, or do you have any? You don't
I
have
actually
any.
don't have any. I don't have any connection to them. It was a closed adoption, so I don't
Wow.
have any information right now. But it's something now that I have a daughter. It's something that I'm interested in
Of
pursuing
course,
relatively soon. And my daughter is now my first known blood relative,
of
which is
course.
crazy. I'm 33 years old and I never had a blood relative. But yeah, now it's definitely something that I'm. It's starting to interest me.
I can't let it go. Every time I read, you're always being compared physically and to a degree vocally with Jonas Kaufman. Uh, is this something that irritates you? Of course, it's in some ways it's because it's a compliment, but it must sometimes irritate you that you maybe perhaps you wish people would say, actually, that's Jonathan Settleman, not Jonas Kaufman.
Well, I think yeah, yes and no. Of course, I want to be only compared to myself, but comparisons are generally the easiest way for people to kind of understand who somebody is. And to be compared with somebody like Jonas Kaufman he's a modern day Pavarotti. He's a rock star opera singer, and for me, it's a huge compliment. Even though I don't really see a lot of the similarities, but you know, maybe other people do because he's kind of the guy in focus now.
I think I can see where they're forming that comparison, but to me, you actually strike me as looking like a very young Jose Cura,
Mm,
who I
I've heard that
adored
too.
when he was younger. I adored him.
Yes,
Um, and of course, South Africa's produced South America, beg my pardon, produced many great tenors historically.
100%. A lot of great Spanish tenors throughout history.
Who were your who were your influences? Who made you think, you know what, that's who I aspire to be or to sing that way? Who inspired you?
There's a long list, but I could give you the short list.
Okay.
I would say definitely. I'll start with the newest ones. Definitely Jonas. He's definitely somebody that really is an inspiration to a lot of young tenors, and was certainly a big inspiration to me. He sang all the repertoire. That's one thing that's just like it's very uncommon for top tier tenors to be able to sing all the repertoire. I would also say Domingo. He's another one of those guys that's just he's still singing. I mean, it's crazy. He probably might want to consider doing less of it, but he's still singing. It's very impressive. Um, but earlier than that, I do love I love Pavarotti now a lot. I'm singing a lot of this repertoire now, so I'm listening to him more and more. And earlier tenors, I would say Corelli, big time.
Giant,
Delmonico, big time.
giant.
Bergonzi, and then for my early two choices, I would say Gili and Caruso.
Wow, really?
So
Um,
mostly Italian tenors. I would
yeah,
say they're kind of like my go-to. I just did this Jose, and I listened to Ramon Vinay, who's actually Chilean. But I mean, nobody can compare because this man, he sang tenor, baritone, and bass. In his career, it's like unheard of now. So he's his own monster.
I've only seen Domingo once, and he sang as a baritone
Hmm.
alongside actually a good friend of mine, Joe Calea,
Oh.
in Simon Boccanegra.
Hmm.
And I know you're probably familiar with the role. When he dies, he was sitting on a bench, and I mean, he was nearly, like, he must be nearly 70 then, and he's sitting on a bench, and he's very clearly flailing. He's clearly going, and I thought, oh, what a nice way for him to die. And then he just leapt up, stormed around the stage, and crashed to the floor. And
Wow.
I mean, I'm a martial artist. I think I would break something the way he just. I mean, he's like the Laurence Olivier of the opera world,
He
Domingo.
is.
Just this.
I just did 5 performances of Doi Foscari. It's the same thing. He's just walking or meandering around the stage, and then he collapses, and you're like, this was his last show. That had to be his last show.
Wow.
You really felt like this was it. Because he gets so like emotional and connected to the body when he sings. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. An amazing artist. Amazing artist. I always felt in some ways he was overshadowed is not really the right term. He sang at a time when, of course, Pavarotti was to the fore and chalk and cheese, but very difficult to have the ultimate impacts that you might aspire to have when you're kind of with Pavarotti. And although a lot of people thought that the three tenors concerts were a little bit of that,
Hammy.
yeah, hammy's a great word. Um, There were, but I think that first one, I think it did so much for the world of opera,
Totally.
and it completely elevated all three guys really to a whole new audience. And I think,
It was a perfect education for the world
oh,
of for the
perfect.
world to understand opera.
Yeah, that's a great, exactly that. I know, I know you started singing very young, unusually very young, and
Mm.
you had some moderate success as a young singer. Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
I was in it's actually a choir school called the American Boy Choir School. I was there from 9 years old until 14, which is when the voice typically breaks over. Um, and yeah, I sang there. I sang with all these wonderful orchestras, San Francisco. I sang with Chicago. I sang with New York Philharmonic, Philadelphia Orchestra. And it was kind of like a taste of really what it's like to have a career as a singer. We would go to these places, we would stay with host families, we would fly there all together, we would take a bus. It was pretty cool. It was like a young rock star life. And all the while we're singing, we're in school at the same time. So extremely demanding schedule. I learned a lot about getting myself very focused on things, and making sure that I could get everything done because you're really on your own at that age in this school. Unfortunately, the school is no longer around, but it's a shame. It's a really it was a really great education, and I would send my son there if I could.
Oh, wow. And I know that you
And
initially,
only 60 to 80 kids per year, so it's really really small.
wow. I think something like that is important.
Yeah.
It should perpetuate. Funnily enough, speaking with Freddie Di Tommaso, an English tenor, and something that Gregory Kunde has also echoed. You know, he says, you know, they should teach opera in schools. They should get kids more, and that's a sentiment that I kind of echo. So you started as a baritone.
Yeah, or just an ambiguous voice type,
Oh, an ambiguous voice type.
an ambiguous changed voice. Yeah, I didn't really know, how to become a tenor at a younger age. It's very demanding and can be very fatal for a lot of tenors. They learn how to sing in this kind of, I would say, bizarre way. You're singing above where you speak all the time, and it's
Of
just
course.
it's dangerous unless you really have good training. And unfortunately, it wasn't until after college that I really found somebody that could train me uh, to build this part of my voice.
So tell me, and there you are in your 20s. You're kind of
Mm-hmm.
you're on the cusp of really developing into something,
Yeah.
and then you decide, screw this, I don't want to do this, and it's like you
Well,
had a crisis of confidence, or I think I read that you put it, a quarter life crisis, like a
it's
mid.
exactly right. I just
Wow.
didn't have the right direction. I didn't have the right excitement around me to develop this part of my of who I was. Your voice is who you are. You can't just like pick up an instrument and just play. You really have to dig in. It's hard work, and I wasn't inspired enough in my school to really push through it. It took about 3 years of doing other stuff, clubbing and DJing and enjoying, and then I really was like, you know what? I miss opera. There's something inside me that this is my calling, and I have to return to it.
And return you did, and I know there was a hell of a hard work period for you, an intensive 6 months to kind of
De-
where you really
Definitely.
gave it your all. I see you described quite often as a dramatic tenor. And I see it looking at your itinerary, which is very busy, by the way. I see a lot of what I would consider quintessential lyric roles. Are you happy with the direction that your career is taking, or are you aspiring to maybe do something slightly different?
Uh, you know, I'm almost going to plead the fifth on this one, but I will say, uh, I'm going to agree with Corelli and his understanding of his voice is that he's a grand lyrical grand, and that's what I would say about myself. I'm a lyric tenor through in and out, but with a tendency to be able to give the voice and produce volume in the house.
Yeah, I'm to my shame, I haven't heard you live. You're probably the first tenor I've ever spoken to that I haven't heard you live. So I don't get around Europe very much these days,
Mm-hmm.
mainly as a fall off from obviously the pandemic. When are you coming to the
Right.
Royal Opera House next? Do you know? Do you have any kind of?
No plans right now.
Wow,
Well,
I'm gonna have to come to
there
Germany.
there's the higher ups are they have their own ideas. Let's say that.
Macbeth. I always found that was a curious role. I know you're due to sing Macbeth next year as well, and
Hmm.
I always refer to an old New York Times article, which I don't agree with. It described this opera as it's got no famous arias, no big tenor role, and it's even a bit of a mishmash of styles.
And it's
Uh,
long.
and it's long, and I'm
It's
just kind of
long.
like, what attracted you to this role, and what do you hope to bring to it?
It's I've done a lot of these big roles. I've done a lot of the leading man, the like big aria, the big duets, the big death at the end. I want to try something that's the opposite of that. There is an important aria in the role, in the role, but it's not. It's more about like the show. It's more about the story. It's more about Shakespeare than it is about opera. And I think that there's something that I can deliver that's not necessarily just always about the voice, always about the opera part. It can be this acting part that I really enjoy doing, and I think it will inspire other things that I'm going to do it in the future with kind of this beginning with this Macbeth. It's an interesting. I don't know. It's just something. It's something totally different that I want to have the experience.
That said, I quite like the Alla Paterno Mano. I know it's awful. I think that's a beautiful aria.
It is.
Speaking of paternity,
and it makes it worth singing. It's at the end of the opera, so it's
yeah,
worth singing.
and of course, speaking of paternity, as I mentioned at the start, you've quite not very long ago become a father.
That's
How,
right.
how's how's that impacted you? How are you finding fatherhood?
Oh, it really came, and my friends have said this to me actually. They're like, it was so natural for you to become a dad. It just fit. It's so strange. Like I never saw myself being a father. I just like something I couldn't picture. Maybe when I'm like 50 or 45 or something later. But I'm really happy that we had our daughter so young because I have a lot of time for her. I have a lot of energy for her, and she needs people with energy around her.
Oh yeah,
Um, but she's great. She travels really well, and my fiance is wonderful with her, and she has great grandparents. So I can't imagine life without her now.
my advice: yeah, enjoy it. It goes so quick, my friend.
I know everybody says the
Oh,
same thing.
my my little girl. I have a little girl, so
Hmm.
she has a little girl as well.
Oh
I,
boy.
and I'm like, where the hell did that time go? When I still think of my daughter, I'm still thinking of her. Oh, I hope she's okay. Is she studying hard still? Well, actually, no.
Yeah.
She's 3 years younger than you, and but that
Wow.
time
Well,
just go.
congratulations, Grandpa.
Ah, no. Yeah. I always, I
Grandpa
always
Mike.
avoid.
Grandpa Mike.
I always avoided that moniker. I was, yeah. I always said I'm a little too old to be a dad again, but I'm just too young to be a grandfather, and she unequivocally proved me wrong there.
You'll always be too young to be a grandpa.
Thank you, my friend. I'm coming to Germany. I'm going to come to Europe to see you.
There we go.
Joseph Calleja said something.
Uh-huh.
He said in a recent interview
Uh-huh.
that he thought opera's future was bleak. That he'd seen audience numbers were kind of falling off. How do you feel about that? I mean, you've been on the circuit a little while now. Is that something that you share, or
Yes and no. I think in certain places it's bleak. Um, I think that there needs to be a certain type of reformation in the people that make decisions in opera. The people that hire people, the people that are casting, uh, and a lot of these directors, they're uneducated, and they're trying to put a square piece in a circular hole. It's just like opera needs to be beautiful. You can't cut corners. You have to go all in every show, and that's how we sing. We sing like we should sing like this is almost our last performance. Like that's how much soul you want to deliver in this music. And if you have a production that doesn't supply that, what do you what are we doing this for?
that's interesting? Is it and obviously, I don't want to put you on the spot and name names. Is this something that you've actually experienced? And Why do you
I've,
think that is? That maybe
I've,
some
I mean, I've
production.
definitely seen some productions that are just absolutely ridiculous. You know, it's not. This is nothing to do with what the composer or the librettist or the editors or anybody. You know, it's nothing to do with their vision. It's to do with somebody else's vision that has that, that didn't do their homework. They just want to create something and make a stir. And
I see.
I think opera is enough of a stir. I mean, you know what if you take the story of Tosca? I mean, if you really take the time to understand what's going on with these characters and what's going on in the story, that's enough. It's enough that the music makes you feel that way. Once you tear that apart, um, and you try to throw some stuff, that you have in your mind, it's it's not going to work. It's going to kill. It's going to kill it.
I think my wife loves you a little bit going to Tosca because one of her favorite arias is E Luce Bene Stelle, and
Mine too.
I showed her your rendition, and I unfortunately I didn't make notes and I didn't know what production it was, but it was kind of in the snow,
Yeah,
and it was pretty gruesome, and
yeah.
she loved your rendition of it, but she couldn't watch it because it was kind of I
Yeah,
guess it was completely at odds with how this aria of the opera in her mind had kind of
right.
been,
Yeah,
and
it's
so
it's. I mean, there's something. I mean, the snow was okay, but like just like showing like dripping blood corpses around and stuff. It's like you don't really need all that. You could just it's okay to enjoy the opera. You don't have to be like afraid of it.
exactly. Look, outside of what you do, what does Jonathan have a passion for?
Oh, well, now my number one passion is
Fatherhood.
the baby.
Yeah.
But I love to travel and explore. We're actually on our way to Rhodes, and we're going to see some of Andrea's family and cousins and stuff like that for a wedding. The other things, what do I like? I like to cook. I like to cook, and what does your cousin call me? Master Chef, Master
Oh
Chef John,
wow.
Master Chef Johnny.
Oh wow. I
And
know
then
you. I know you're about to do Massa di Requiem. That's coming up, I
yes,
think, in about a week's time.
yeah,
That's a pretty demanding role. I always thought that was a pretty tenor.
it is.
How have you prepared for that one? Yeah.
Um, I'll start my preparations very soon. No, I'm I've done it. I've done it a few times,
Yeah.
and I sang through it a couple times the other day, and everything feels pretty good. I actually have when I land, I have 3 days prior to rehearsal, and I'm bringing in a coach to kind of shake off the rust a little bit. But I'll be working on it on the airplane, listening to it, and getting everything in order for some coaching, and I think it should be good to go. The biggest problem with this Messa da Requiem is that we have three in a row:
Wow.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday matinee. I mean, this is the pacing of all pacings is about to happen. So this is
Tequila,
a first for
maybe?
me.
Tequila? I
I
don't know.
think so.
Maybe works.
I think
I
so.
don't know, my friend.
I'll try to bring what they have the drink of choice in Romania is called Suica, and her father makes it. So he gave me a little bottle. So this is my juice of courage.
You may need that to get through it.
I might.
It's been an absolute
But
pleasure speaking with you.
oh, mine too. Mine
And
too.
I could speak with you all day. Lovely
Yeah,
to
we
meet,
could.
really lovely to meet you. Lovely to meet you, good lady. Let's keep in
Yeah,
touch. I promise I will
for
catch a
sure.
performance as soon as I can. I think we've had a great chat. And of course, I shall transcribe it and it will appear on
Yeah,
Opera
no,
Wire.
no. Send it to me, and I'll post it as well. So I'm
Thank
I'm
you so
happy
much.
to
Absolutely.
drive some traffic over there.
Listen, opera needs it, and I like to think I'm doing my little bit for it. I really do. To kind of demystify an awful lot. I still have friends, and I am as working class as you could possibly get. Grew up in the north of England, and I have friends who say, "How did you get to like such an elitist, rich man's thing?" And people are talking to me this. I mean, you can buy a perfectly acceptable ticket for a few pounds in the Opera House, depending on where you go. And these people are telling me this, and they've paid, I don't know, £450 to see Ed Sheeran or someone, and I'm just like,
and not even see him, to see him on a screen.
Yeah,
that you
exactly,
because you're so far away, you can't even see his face. You can just stay at home.
They should have done.
Pay-per-view is even cheaper.
Jonathan, stay in touch. God bless. Have a safe flight. Have a fantastic Verdi Messa, and I will chat to you again, my friend.
It's a pleasure.
God bless. Take care, my friend.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.